There's a special place in my heart for the Oddworld games, and it's not because of the games themselves. To be entirely honest, I don't enjoy the gameplay, it's the heart they have behind them. Abes Oddysee is the first game they ever released, and it was originally the start of a 5-part series. Sadly, only 2 of these came out, Abes Oddysee and Munch's Odyssey, although they did release a sequel to Abes Oddysee before Munch's Odyssey because it was so successful. I enjoy them so much because they really have heart and soul, and they create a world in which you're immersed in. Now, I'm a sucker for this kind of thing. I love lore. That's why I like games like League of Legends, places where there's real backstory and everything in the world is defined. That's exactly what they did with Oddworld. The game takes place on this planet, which is meant to be 8 times the size of Earth, and it's all about Abe, a Mudokon who is a slave to the Rupture Farms meatpacking factory.
That's me. My name is Abe. I was Employee of the Year. Now I'm dead meat. I crossed the meanest boss in the world, Mullet the Gluckin. My whole life changed in just one day. I was working late one night at Rupture Farms.
Now, Mudokons are basically a slave race, and because every other race has become extinct, the Gluckins in charge of the factory have started cannibalizing them. So, it's your duty to rescue them. Now, really, rescuing them is optional. You could just skip through the whole game, but then you get a completely and utterly terrible ending where they decide not to save your life in the end instead. And that's something they continued through all the games. The idea is you can talk to the other Mudokons through a real talk interface or something like that.
Wait. Follow me. Hello. Hello. Follow me. Okay.
And they will respond to you, and you follow them, try and get them through these problems. It's kind of like a 2D platformer puzzler. That's the only way I can explain it, because dealing with the other Mudokons is in its own way a puzzle. You have very few ways to defend yourself. You can possess enemies and make them explode, but that's not really the prime way you're meant to get through all the issues. Most of the time, you're meant to sneak, and that's really hard with these controls. The controls are kind of sticky. For example, he always jumps in a certain path and he runs like a maniac, but I guess this is kind of the Silent Hill theory, where you're not a superhero, you're not a super armoured trooper or a battalion plumber, you're just a dude. And you're a pretty clumsy dude at that, so I guess bad controls make sense. I'd have more footage of this game, but I really suck at it. For example, I couldn't work out half these puzzles, so about 20 Mudokons got murdered when I left the level. Which really does make you feel bad, really, even though they're sprites on screen, they have such character behind them. The art in this game is pretty damn awesome. All the species are really weird looking, but kind of lovable. I remember specifically when I was introduced to the Oddworld games. Our first console in our house was one of the old original Xboxes, and it came with 2 games in those unmarked CD cases you used to get before DVDs were a big thing. It was Halo, Combat Evolved, and Munch's Odyssey. Now, Halo Combat Evolved looked kind of boring, so when me and my brother got it, we went to Munch's Odyssey because it had a really bright and colourful disc. It started off with a bunch of cutscenes that summed up all the story up to that point. And it scared the crap out of me because they're really creepy looking. It kept me away from the games for quite some time, which is kind of sad really, because they're pretty fun, even in their weird ways. After you rescue yourself from the facility, you find out you're some kind of ancient hero and you have to save everyone else by getting the powers of nature. Which, you know, is kind of cool. This whole game goes on the idea of nature versus industrialism, and in fact all the other games do too. The company had plans for other games on this idea, as well as the other games in the quintology, and there's been rumours that they may be getting back in business after they became bankrupt quite some time ago, which I'd really like to see. I already know Abes Oddysee is getting a HD remake, which would be nice, because even though it's quite charming as it is, It really doesn't stand up to today's standard. And I know they won't change the controls. It's kind of a traditional thing by now. In short, the Oddworld games have a heart behind them, soul built into them. You could tell it was a labour of love, which you can't say for that many games today that aren't independent. And this really is what it was. It was an independent game for its time, I'd say. So, you know what? Look it up. Probably watch a Let's Play that got further through it than I ever could, because, Jesus, I was terrible at that game.
Hello. Hello.